The general consensus on the S25 Ultra is very mixed. Controversy surrounding the S Pen, praising its design, lack of innovation. I've been seeing it and I've been hearing it to bring you my definitive review on Samsung's 2025 flagship, the Galaxy S25 Ultra. Kicking it off with the design, and it isn't anything but premium. It seems like Samsung has reached the best iteration of this design language, started from the S22 Ultra, continued with the S23 and S24 Ultra, and perfected with the S25 Ultra. From the flatter sides made out of a stronger, more durable grade 5 titanium, to finally rounding off those edges that would just dig into your palms on the previous models. So from an ergonomic standpoint, the S25 Ultra is already an upgrade, especially since the phone is 15 grams lighter than last year, which is enough to where you can tell if you had both phones side by side. Not to mention the flat frosted glass back makes it even more premium in the hand. Despite this, I do have my gripes with this design. One being, even with the flatter and rounded corners, I can't help but feel the S25 Ultra has lost a little bit of charm. There was something about the S24 Ultra's design that made it somewhat unique, and now with these flatter sides, it feels a bit more corporate, as it is something every phone is doing nowadays. And then there's the colours, which are very muted. There's titanium silver blue, titanium grey, titanium black, and titanium white silver. As far as exclusive colours go, there's jade green, pink gold, and this jet black. Don't get me wrong, they're a good set of colours, just a little tame. Also, let me know in the comments which colour is your favourite and I'll give it a heart. Other areas where the design has been changed is the slightly newer camera rings, but other than that, the S25 Ultra's design is a refinement of what came before. The display gets bigger this year, going from 6.8 inches to 6.9 inches, thanks to the slightly rounded corners and these thinner bezels around the screen. Now, the actual changes made to the display are things that aren't going to change usability. Like, you're not going to notice the slightly bigger screen unless you have both phones side by side, but it's the experience of using this display that makes the difference. Every time I've used this phone, I can't help but appreciate how responsive and nice the display is to use. It gets nice and bright at 2600 nits of peak brightness. The 120Hz refresh rate makes scrolling super smooth whilst being efficient, going down to 1Hz when idling. Streaming content on here is so immersive due to this big screen, the natural colours, and Quad HD resolution. It's honestly the best display to watch things on, and day to day this is going to be one of the best displays on any phone right now. Of course, I'm not going to try one hand this phone all the time, it's going to be game over, but what I would do is hit that subscribe button, so definitely do that and not drop your phone. The anti-reflective coating gets even better at dodging reflections, which is an absolute game changer, and it's something every phone needs to have. So to summarize, the S25 Ultra's display, whilst not all that different, is still going to be a solid 9 out of 10. Very great display. Battery life is an area which has mostly stayed the same. The S25 Ultra has a 5000 mAh battery, and the results are fairly consistent to the S24 Ultra, which is still incredible considering the more powerful chip this phone has. In my experience, battery life has been amazing. Even with battery protection on, where I charge to 85%, I'm comfortably getting through the whole day easily and consistently, which is the best thing about it. Brightness on full outside, 120Hz, always on display with a wallpaper, and it still does not want to quit. Charging, on the other hand, seems to remain the same at 45 watts wired. Apparently it does charge slightly faster, although I don't get why there isn't any magnets for Qi 2 within the phone itself. It would make wireless charging more efficient and probably faster, and I don't get why they couldn't stick magnets inside the phone, but they could with their cases. So battery life, amazing, and charging needs improvement. But where most of the headlines are heading is this, the S Pen, and that's because there's no more Bluetooth with the S Pen on the S25 Ultra. Look, I can't vouch for how useful those features are, as this is my first Ultra phone, but what I do know is, according to a survey, less than 1% of people actually use the Bluetooth functionality. So it's a feature set for a niche audience, but the same can be said for the S Pen itself. Samsung's Ultra phones are pretty much the only phones with a stylus, which is already targeting a demographic who would actually use it. Or the same could be said about the 100x zoom, log video recording, which they added this year, having a pro version of the camera app. Those are niche features too. I'm just here thinking, just why? If they got rid of it to add something, then I would have been fine with it, but it's just painstakingly clear that it's nothing but a cost-cutting measure, and that sucks. Let's not let that taint this phone entirely. as the performance on the S25 Ultra is truly one of a kind. It's powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy with 12GB of RAM. And in the benchmarks, this chip is so overwhelmingly good that it's better than the A18 Pro in multi-core. Of course, life isn't just the numbers, so how does this actually perform? Well, you guessed it, very, very well. This phone is so fast at pretty much anything. Day-to-day use, of course, is not going to be a problem, and it is so smooth. Most of that is thanks to the new software skin, which we'll get to. Playing heavy games on here isn't even an issue, not only due to the chip, but also due to the 40% bigger vapor chamber, leading the phone to heat up less, therefore not throttling performance. The 12GB of RAM is good enough for any task that's going to need a lot of it, and it's certainly enough RAM. I and many did think it was going to be 16GB of RAM, so it's a shame that they didn't do that, but 12GB will definitely be more than sufficient. You know what truly makes the difference? Is Samsung's new software skin, One UI 7, based on Android 15. This takes the experience to another level, starting off with its fluidity, and Samsung has skyrocketed to having one of the most smoothest software skins ever. Animations are so much better and they're not janky like before. The consistency and seamlessness with all the animations makes the phone just feel faster, so just gliding around the UI is extremely satisfying. You can see the resemblance from the iPhone, but Samsung has put their own twist on it, and sometimes actually being better than what it's trying to copy. Like, look at the lock screen customization. It's got everything the iPhone has, even the UI is similar, but Samsung's has a bit more freedom, or the fact you have to swipe from the left to see your notifications and from the right to get to your quick settings, just like the iPhone. And also new with One UI 7 is the Dynamic Island-esque introduction of the Now bar, which, like the Dynamic Island, is designed to show you ongoing activities such as music, live notifications, and Samsung's own Now brief. And all of these changes just make the S25 Ultra even better, but of course it shouldn't be the defining reason to buy this phone, as the older models will get this update eventually. Samsung is also continuing their massive 7 years of OS updates with the S25 Ultra, so you can't question this phone's longevity. But this software isn't complete without its suite of new Galaxy AI features. And some are good, and then some are just not great. By that I mean they just need a lot more work. I'll start with the good. The support for natural language input is genuinely a useful AI feature. Instead of, combing through the settings and trying to find the specific term, you can just type something related to it, like "my eyes hurt" to activate the eye comfort shield. Definitely a genuinely good feature. Another one is going to be the object eraser tool. It's been around for a while now, but I can tell you it's the best eraser tool in the game now. You've seen the videos. This is absolutely insane at how accurate it can be at replacing what's been erased, but the new AI features mentioned do need a little more work. So a new one is cross-app action, where you can speak to Gemini for two apps to speak to each other. And in concept, this is a really good idea, but it's the context around the request where it starts to struggle. Like, find me a screening for the new Captain America movie and add it to my calendar. It understands the assignment, but it doesn't ask you when you want to go and what time you do, so it kinda ends up doing it randomly and picks any time. Heck, it's added a booking to my calendar from the past. It's a really promising feature, just needs a little more work. Then there's the Now brief, and this is another one that is good in concept, but the execution isn't quite there yet, at least for me. For some reason, I can't see anything but the weather, health, and the recommended playlist it shows, even though every setting is on. But I can see this as useful as a quick insight on the world around you. And all of this AI is really going to depend on you and how much you're actually going to use it. So these features won't be that important to you if you don't plan on using them. If you do, just remember these are only free until the end of 2025. Yet we still haven't heard from Samsung on how much they're going to cost and what features will be locked behind a paywall. But as a whole, Galaxy AI, the potential is there, just needs a little bit more work. Okay, cameras. In terms of shooters, the S25 Ultra has a 200 megapixel main, 10 megapixel 3x, 50 megapixel 5x, and an all new 50 megapixel ultra wide. As you can expect, results from the main are going to be practically identical to that on the S24 Ultra, which isn't a bad thing. Photos are sharp, contrasty, the colors pop, but they're not over the top. I'd even go to say it's now level with the iPhone 16 Pro, and sometimes better. The new 50 megapixel ultra wide is a well needed upgrade, as you're not compromising as much quality jumping from the main to the ultra wide. It offers much sharper and more detailed shots, although you're only going to notice this difference during the day. And thanks to the better ultra wide, we get better macro photos. So close-ups are more detailed compared to that on the S24 Ultra, which is always nice to have. Zoom photos are great too from the 3x and the 5x. Good levels of detail, and I like the fact the color profile between all the lenses remains consistent. Video is an area I'm impressed by. It's gotten to the point where it's neck and neck between the iPhone's video and Samsung's, and that's great, especially when you want to create content on this like me. And if you want freedom with your video, the S25 Ultra now supports log video, so you have complete control and can color grade however you like, which overall proves the S25 Ultra has solid cameras that are some of the best on any phone. You know, what were we expecting? Were we expecting a massive upgrade from the S24 Ultra? Yeah, you can't help but feel underwhelmed as it's a minor upgrade. That being said, from an objective standpoint, this is still a great phone. There's no doubts about that. This is going to be a contender for Phone of the Year. It's probably still the phone to beat, and the one most people will actually buy, even if everybody loves to hate it. If I was to recommend upgrading, then I would if you're coming from at least an S22 or below, and just maybe if you're coming from an S23 Ultra. The changes made over the last 2 to 3 years from those phones are going to start adding up. So you would actually notice the changes Samsung has made. But as I said last year, Galaxy S25 Ultra, a refinement but defined by AI, and no Bluetooth on the S Pen. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you there.